everyone. It's Monday, October 9th. Crazy weekend. Israel is at war, and that's affecting the market. So, of course, that's a tragedy, but we got to look at how to play the market based on that. So, before we get into the specific stock ideas, let's just look at the macro, what's going on here. And you can bet everything you see here is directly related to what's going on in Israel. And I'll explain that in a second. But first, you can see oil is up, gold is up, volatility, VIX is up, the fear index. Now, the bond market's actually closed today. The TLT ETF is trading, so it's going to be less of a signal today anyway. But the story today is more about the impact of oil on the market. I'll explain that a little bit more anyway. So really, the story is not about bonds anyway, but even if it was, bond market's actually closed. Okay. And then you can see the resulting impact here from fear, oil up, all that. That's causing everything down. Carry, IWM, RK, SPY, QQQ. So what's the connection? What's going on here? I saw a point that someone made on Twitter that, Israel's GDP is tiny. Like, why does the world care? Why do the U.S. markets care? And it's all about possible future regional instability, especially with Iran, and also what happens with oil. That's what this is all about in terms of how does it impact financial markets, right? So it's pretty well known at this point. Iran is behind Hamas going into Israel, and Iran has tentacles all over the world. Okay, there's also fears, and we'll get into this in terms of some of the trade ideas. There was an emergency meeting. Okay, it's not out there in the media, but through contacts, good sources I follow on Twitter, the U.S. had an emergency meeting over the weekend about the potential that Hamas has infiltrated the United States from the southern border, the porous southern border, and worries about major terrorist attacks in the United States in major U.S. cities over the next 12 to 18 months, in retaliate, for whatever purpose Hamas has, because the U.S. supports Israel, whatever it is, but they hate U.S. anyway, right? Like in Iran, they're going like death to America, death to Israel, right? If you guys didn't know, they always do that, and now they're doing that even more. So there's a lot going on here geopolitically when it comes to Iran, potential regional instability, and what's going on with oil. And all of that's going to inform some of these potential trade ideas. Now, if you remember when we did the Ukraine war, let's move over to the morning show now. When Ukraine-Russia war came out, back then we still had our Sunday night shows. And our Sunday night show, we went through and we came up with a list of different categories of stocks that could do well. And then a few days later, I think it was JP Morgan that came out, and they basically put out their analysis, and it was the exact same stocks we picked, the exact same sectors. It was wild. They coined it the new FANG stocks, which was pretty cool. So that was the new FANG stocks, was fuel, agriculture, aerospace, nuclear, gold, and minerals. That was the new FANG stocks. Now, in this case, I think we can come up, we're not going to name an acronym today, but we're going to do the same thing, come up with different categories that could do well or could do poorly because of what's going on in Israel. And it's not the same exact ones, right? It's not, remember, we had agriculture and nuclear inside those new FANG stocks because Ukraine's the breadbasket of Europe, right? That's why agriculture was in there. And because Russia was so important for uranium, that's why uranium was in the new FANG stocks when it came to the Russia-Ukraine war. But here for the Israel war, a little bit different. I think we can take out the agriculture, we can take out the uranium, and what do we have left? We have fuel, aerospace, and gold. That's definitely in play. So fuel, aerospace, and coal definitely in play, and a couple other categories. But first, we're going to start with aerospace. I think that's the most obvious one that jumps up, especially because look at this Lockheed Martin. Lockheed Martin was going to be the number one pick of the day anyway, okay? And now kind of ruined the trade, to be honest with you. Lockheed Martin, this stock has been like straight down for months. And then what happened? Well, we had a reversal candle end of the day, Friday. Huge catalyst. Late Friday, around 6 o'clock, they came out. They said they're increasing their dividend and they're doubling their stock buyback program, right? Man, I should have bought it then, but it was just late and I was in a rush. And I just didn't buy it Friday after the close because at that point, I knew, I'm like, this is most likely going to be our number one pick. I think also the other reason I didn't buy it was because I didn't know what news would come out Monday morning, what really would be our number one pick. But in any case, Lockheed Martin was going to be the number one pick. And now you add fuel to that fire. Aerospace stocks, the defense stocks, definitely all gapping up. You have Lockheed Martin up 4.5%, Raytheon up 4%. You also have Northrop Grumman up 3%, higher price stock there, 435, which could be interesting for options. But I'm going to focus on Lockheed Martin and Raytheon because of the catalyst Lockheed Martin had anyway, because it was going to be our number one pick anyway. By the way, there was no other news this morning. In the news feed, there was a little bit of news on DocGo, a little bit news on Exact Sciences, and that's it. The news feed completely empty. So the focus is totally war and war-related stocks today. So, but in any case, Lockheed Martin and Raytheon, we're going to leave those up there as two defense plays that could be played today. We'll go through the whole list and we'll come back. All right. I don't want it's a little tricky with the gap. Okay. But like quickly, like my play was going to be picking this up at like 403, maybe a max of 405 in pre market and selling at the 20 DMA at 413. So now this gets a lot trickier. But I have to tell you something. There are some folks out there that don't understand the geopolitical dynamics of what's going on. They're like, oh, this pop is going to fade or whatever it is. All right. Now, maybe intraday it will. Maybe it'll pull back in the morning. But because of the implications of what we just talked about of Iran and maybe even the potential of the United States getting involved in some sort of, regional conflict with Iran, I mean, this is what's driving it up. It's not that, oh, Israel has to buy, new missiles for their Iron Dome, and that's why Lockheed's going up. No, it's going up because there's worry of a regional conflict, and I think this can be sustained for a long time. If you go back and look at like what happened with the Ukraine war, I forgot which candle it was in here, but I looked at it. But in any case, these are things that can cause sustained moves. Okay, and also I just want to point out Ukraine war. Lockheed Martin opened up like $3 or $4, and then ended up the day like $20. Okay. Now we're opening up $20, so it makes the trade a lot more difficult. Let's go down and see if there's something else out there that we'll see what ends up being in our top 5 and what could be the number 1 pick. All right, here's an Israeli defense company, Elbit Systems, ESLT. So I had this high on my list as something we may want to buy because it's defense related. Now listen to this. The Tel Aviv stock market was already open yesterday. Their work week is like Sunday through Friday. Okay, I think it's a half day Friday. But in any case, Tel Aviv stock market was open yesterday. It was down 6% yesterday. And to my little bit of a surprise, also, this stock was down like 5% yesterday. Elbit Systems, okay? You can see in the Americas, down 4%. However, Elbit Systems has rebounded very strongly today in Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv stock market initially opened up like 2% after being down 6% yesterday, but then it lost its gains and it's closing in near its lows at like that down 9-10%. However, Elbit Systems doing great. If you do the translation of where Elbit Systems is trading in Israel, it's right about this 204 level. Okay, it's basically back to the resistance. There's a resistance line right here. You see this? You see all these candles right up here before this 2-day move? So the stock is right back up there in Israel at around 203 right now. Okay, so we spotted that discrepancy, that market efficiency, looking for like an ARB opportunity. We gave you that alert in the app early in pre-market. We picked some up at like 198, 199, something like that. So I think it's going to be heading to where it closed in Israel, somewhere around 203. So Elbit Systems, an outperformer in Israel, while everything else is really getting clobbered over there, down 9-10%. All right, let's see what else we got. Oil is up. Let's quickly look at USO. Now, exactly what USO does, I can't predict this USO chart. I don't think anyone can from an intraday perspective, but we can talk about what we just talked about, right? The implication of Iran coming in, oil sanctions on Iran, the possibility that Israel and or US, maybe even together at some point, takes out the oil refineries in Iran. There's lots of different things at stake going on, potentially, that can increase the price of oil. So Occidental Petroleum, now this was our number 1 pick Friday, and the targeted options, actually, we did play this. We're up over 100% on Friday. That's like uncanny. We're keeping this rate of 65 to 70% of our number 1 picks. The targeted stock options, we're not going to tell you what options we target, but pretty easy to figure out. There's lots of options. When you have a stock that just goes up all day, almost any option will be up like 100%. When you're up like 5, 6, 7% from the open, which is what happened. So, but in any case, if you remember, Oxy was their number 1 pick because of this buyout, this rumored buyout, not even rumored, reported imminent buyout, I would call it, rather than a rumor, a PXD by ExxonMobil. Now, that deal, I haven't seen anything in the newsfeed that deal is closed, but you can see PXD is up because oil is up. So Occidental Petroleum, I like it up at the top of the list because it still has two catalysts, right? It's got oil up because of the war, and it's got, as we see, Elbit Systems moving closer to where it should trade in Israel. Then we have then we have oil up, and then we have this possibility of the speculation that now, I think, is it Chevron? I think it's Chevron, that Warren Buffett owns both Chevron and Occidental Petroleum. So as we said Friday, if Exxon's buying PXD, Chevron's probably going to buy Occidental Petroleum. That tailwind, that sentiment tailwind, is still in play. On top of it, throw oil up on top of that. So I think that potentially could still be a top 5 stock in terms of how to play oil. That's the only stock I'm thinking about how I want to play oil today with OXY. Now, other things, oil is up. Now, that's bad for travel. You know what else is bad for travel? Terrorism. Okay. And also reduced travel. There is a lot of countries have stopped flights to Israel. Okay. So there's actually a direct decrease in flights. U.S. companies, they stop flights. So reduced revenue from canceling flights to Israel. Oil expense higher, eats into their profits. And also just a general unease, a general worry about, wow, is terrorism worldwide going to increase? Is there going to be some plane terrorism or something like that? Plays into maybe reduced consumer demand. So that's why we did short American Airlines early this morning. And I think that's actually the best pre-market bet we did so far. But so that's something, and it could be a number of other ones. You can look at UAE. I mean, you can look at United Airlines. You could look at what's the other one? I can't remember the name of it. What's that software company? The software company that services the plane industry. I forgot the name, but there's lots of ways you can think about it yourself, right? Of how you might want to play this theme for today. Other themes that there's so many different themes that play today. All right, border. You saw what happens when your border is porous. Now, in this case, there was an attack, right? And they attacked the border. They made it porous. The Israel border was not porous prior to this. No one was getting in and out. They had to basically do a military exercise to break through the border, and then you see who came in. So that probably gets people in the United States thinking, oh my gosh, look what happened there. And they had a good border in Israel. We have no border here. So I think this can add fuel to that sentiment, trade that we've been having in Geo. We've had a swing in Geo. I added more trading shares today. It's above the 200 DMA. So I do think we can see Geo outperform. I wouldn't be surprised to see Geo green on a red market day today. All right. Other potential trade ideas. Guns. One of the interesting things in Israel, man, I don't know who the quote was attributed to, but one of the articles early on I saw was, if you have a gun, get it out, right? And I didn't have time to read the full article. It was in the title. And maybe Bibi said it, Benjamin Netanyahu. I'm not sure. But it was a long article, and the article was about Bibi. If he didn't say it, maybe it was some other government official. But then later on, I think it was late last night, saw an article come out that in Israel, they've signed some kind of order to dramatically decrease restrictions on gun ownership, effective immediately. Right? They want to make it easier now to own guns, private citizens. So I think that also, think about the mentality, right, of people who live in the border here in Texas. They're saying, oh, by the way, did I tell you? And I did tell you earlier, there's worry that Hamas has infiltrated United States through the southern border. People in Texas, border states, seeing that, what are they thinking? You don't think that they're going to, if I lived there, I'd probably go out and get a gun right now. After seeing what I saw in Israel, I'm like, oh my gosh, who's coming through this border? Let me go get a gun. And I think that's the sentiment that you can already see. I'm not the only one with this sentiment, because you can see POWW, SWBI, and RGR all green today. Now, RGR only 22 shares, but significant volume. POWW, 28,000 shares. SWBI, a little bit less. But so that's a theme for today, is gun ownership going to increase, border security important with Geo, reduced travel with AAL, energy with Oxy, defense stocks. And then down here, another thing to consider is Israeli stocks may be something that's shortable today, or sell or avoid. Now, I think this is just a trade. I'm not advocating to take advantage of the situation in Israel and say, oh, pound these companies into the ground. No. And, at this point anyway, we don't even do long-term investing or too much swing. It's really just about the day trade. In this case, it's about arbitrage. What kind of arbs are available? Let's say, theoretically, if we saw Mobileye down 10% in Israel, and Israel took it down Sunday and this morning 10% in Israel, and we're only down 4% here. Well, that's an opportunity maybe to buy both. Israel. Out of the list here, which ones trade in Israel? It's ESLT, which we talked about. Teva also trades in Israel. Now, Teva is actually trading where it's supposed to. Down 5%. That's roughly where it's supposed to be trading. But these other ones, I didn't check all of them, but I don't believe, and I could be wrong, but I did not check all of them. So it's possible Checkpoint or Global E also trades in Israel. It's possible Wix.com or Perry also trades in Israel. I'm not sure. You have EIS, which is an ETF, only down 2%. Man, let me just double check what's going on in Israel right now. Let me give the real-time quote in Israel on the whole index over there. So the Israeli index is, let's see, right now, the last, is this a 5-minute candle? 10. All right, I'm looking at 10-minute candles. Okay, the latest night, I gotta just do some quick math here because we're at 1970 and we're at 2175 before. So let's just see what that is. 2175 minus 2175 minus 1970 divided by, oh, that's easy math, isn't it? Okay, down 9.4% in 2 days, Israel. The ETF here is only down 2.3%, but this is not an ETF on the whole index. What I just told you is the whole index. The Tel Aviv Stock Exchange down 9.7%. This is an ETF, EIS, which has particular stocks in it. You can take a look at it. Bank Lumu, Checkpoint, the one we just told you about, Teva, which is outperforming. It's only down 4 or 5%, not 10% in Israel. CyberArk, which we told you about. Elbit Systems, which is up today in Israel, actually, right? Because it's a defense stock. So EIS, when I see down 2%, I bet you this is going down today. Down 2%, Israel's down 9.5%. I think these are opportunities. Also, I think all of these, actually, especially these higher price ones, Checkpoint, CyberArk, especially because of this. Look at these charts. They exploded last week. Look at this move in Checkpoint last week. All right. Like, kind of due for a correction, I'd say, given this market. You just explode. I'm like, you got to trade below where this explosion happened, right? You're at war and we're at 158. You shot to 168. You got to think the stock's going below 156, and we're like 160 right now. Okay, and it just adds up with the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange being down 9.5%. Cyber's only down 3.8%. Checkpoint, only down 3.6%. I don't buy it. I think these stocks, if you buy puts at the open on a lot of these, Global E as well. Global E, I think, is heading to $36. I looked at the technicals earlier. Yep, $36 target on Global E. It's at $37.24 now. A lot of these, I think, can be home runs for the day, but just trades for me. Never bet against Israel. They're going to rebound from this. And it could be that these are great shorts, from 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. And then in the afternoon, you find a bottom and then put them in your long-term portfolio. That might be a way to play this. Okay. Let's see. What else do we got going on here? And that was it. There was a little bit of news in DocGo. It's good news. They want a contract, but I can't. There's just, a little bit of news in Exact Sciences, but, it's just not. There's like all the money and the volume is going to be in these sectors we told you about: defense, oil, border, guns, travel, Israel, gold and volatility also may do well, like GLD and VIX, but that's also hard to predict what it'll do throughout the day. Maybe you have a hedge, maybe you have some gold, maybe you have some gold stocks, maybe you buy some VIX calls as a hedge. Okay. But, as far as like a number one or top 5 trade of something you do at the open for us, I don't think gold or volatility is going to really make it more of a hedge. Let's see if we can rank these. Oh, boy. It's not going to be easy. I think I have to put Lockheed Martin and Oxy in the top 5. Okay. Because everything we talk, Lockheed Martin's bouncing back. Okay, now we're in the agree on that. Because I think I had to buy that at 420. I only bought a little bit. Look at this, surging into the open. So Lockheed Martin and Oxy. We don't need to put Raytheon because we're already covered with Lockheed Martin. Okay, Elbit Systems. I don't think this is a play for the day because Tel Aviv's like closing soon if they haven't already. So it's just an arbitrage play. And if you're in this, I think you set your exit at like somewhere around 202, 203. Okay, somewhere, hopefully, if you got in early, maybe 202, 203, you get a rebound, and that's done. So I don't know that that's, and there's not a lot of liquidity. I don't know that that's a top 5 play. Geo, oh, look at this volume coming in. Did I add more? Look at that, 860. Look at the volume on Geo. That's moving in. Holy smokes. Do we have more Geo? Maybe we should get more Geo. How much Geo did I get this morning? Not a ton. All right. But 860 by 880. Look at that volume, 47,000 bid. And man, I'm going to miss this app. I would have not caught this on any other app in the existence on the face of this earth. You would have not seen that large bid without scrolling. So sad that they're getting rid of this. But Geo, unbelievable. I think this is playing out. There are people who are scared. If you look at Twitter, you look at the images, what's going on in Israel, people in America are scared. You see those images, they're buying Geo, they're buying guns. And that when I see Geo go up like this, okay, you know what? We got to put POW up there. All right. POW SWI. All right. Let's move. All right. And let's move American. We got that. Okay. We got Raytheon covered. We got Elbit Systems, a small one. All right. Okay, so now let's see what we got. We had Lockheed Martin. It's going to be tough making money on call options at the open. It's going to be tough. But you know what? Part of our strategy, we buy common shares pre-market so we can make some money like we are now. And, we sell those common shares at the open to cover our potential loss by getting into an option at the open or give us more of a cushion in terms of the stop loss. So maybe that's the way we'll play Lockheed Martin over here. Surging into the open. Is the same thing happening with Raytheon? Not as much, 4.77. Okay, so Lockheed, Oxy, Geo, and then we have the gun stocks. Do we choose one gun stock or multiple gun stocks? I guess we got to choose one gun stock, right? What are we going to choose? All right, well, we have SWI as a $600 million market cap. You know what? I just got to go. I'm going to go with POW. That's where the volume is. 28,000 volume. I know it's a micro cap. So this isn't one you can really play with options. I know there's a 250 strike, but that's, All right, so let's go POW into the top 5. All right, we'll continue. We'll monitor SWI, SWBI, RGR. Maybe RGR is good for options, actually. RGR is a higher price stock, 11 days. So we'll see. Maybe we'll play that via options. And I guess we'll throw AAL short into this. Okay, let's go AAL short. All right, so now we got rounding out the top 5. Lockheed Martin long. Oh, look at that. Occidental Petroleum long. I think we're going to be doing call options on both of these. Geo long. Oh man, do I want more shares after seeing that bid, that massive bid on Geo. Okay, POWW long. AAL short. That's 5 right there. And if you're so inclined, I think it may be a smart play to short Israel stocks in the morning just to take advantage of this arbitrage we're seeing. Israel down 9.5%, and Americans are saying, we'll only take it down 3-4%. Doesn't make sense to me. All right. But in any case, those are the opportunities there. And I need to get a drink of water. I hope you enjoyed this show. Maybe I'm going to restart that afternoon show soon. So stay tuned. Today I actually feel good. Maybe I will do that. All right. Either at 12 or 1 p.m. So stay tuned. Take care. Good luck.